Happy Friday, bakers. Yes, it's me, Mark Flurka, community manager and podcast host for BAKERpedia. Changed my appearance just slightly. Um, Today, we have a few things happening in the forum wanted to share with you guys and draw your attention to. Is one of the things is the conversation on S-curve, temperature S-curve for baking. That we use for breads. And there's been an inquiry and conversation happening looking for information on an S-curve for cakes. We don't have a specific cake S-curve yet. I'm working with our sponsor to produce that sometime in the near future. It's a little bit, part of it's the trouble of getting the probe to, how you suspend it because the batter is so liquid. We can't really lie it down in the cake per se. But at any rate, the important thing is that while a cake batter S-curve might be slightly flatter than the one for breads, it's really more about what is happening when. And that is with breads, we're looking at a yeast kill and then the starch set and so on. With cakes, there isn't a yeast kill, there is where we have the leavening activation and then expansion of the leavening gas through heat, and then the starch set in of the interior. So it's important that the oven temperature not be too high, or you get setting on the surface before things react internally. And then you get what is peaking, because it starts to set up on the surface and the sides, and then it peaks in the center like a little mountain and is all cracked on top. And that is an indication of too hot an oven and or too slow a leavening system. But usually a hot oven is the first thing we look at. If the oven is too cold, then you run the chances of things drying out on the edges too much and not getting a thorough cook in the center, and maybe even not getting a good rise in the center, that things start to set and that it becomes slightly concave in the center a little bit. So that sort of is the S-curve conversation. The other one is Makaron Preservation. We have an inquiry about a preservative to add to Macaron. And generally speaking, and Jorge is asking about being able to sell the macarons out of the fridge and add a preservative. And generally speaking, macaron really do not require a preservative because there is so much sugar. The water activity is so low that it is not impossible, but extremely challenging for any mold to potentially grow. Because macaron are usually below 0.6, and the mold only starts to begin to thrive above 0.65. And so where the challenge might be is if you're trying to keep your macaron soft longer, is that it might be in terms of the sugars crystallizing and or drying out, right? So powdered monodiglycerides might help with that, as powdered lecithin, such as sunflower or soybean lecithin that you can get in powdered formats, might help with that as well. Other sort of classic methods I would call, or what a lot of French bakers do, is they make their meringue using an Italian meringue or a boiled meringue. And when boiling the sugar, they replace a portion of the sugar with a non-crystallizing sugar, such as glucose or corn syrup. And this will help retard the crystallization of the sugars and keep the macarons soft longer in the center. If you are experiencing mold on the surface of your macaron after removing them from the fridge for a short period, then the more likely issue is contamination. Contamination during handling after baking, that mold is being transferred to the surface, and that you're also getting condensation from refrigeration, which is then water that becomes available to that mold contamination to grow. The last conversation I wanted to bring up today is one that was just recently posted by Mahmoud. And Mahmoud has done a great example of formulating his question and providing information for us to respond to. And so Mahmoud is looking to try and achieve a brioche type hamburger bun similar to what he sees in retail that has a long extended shelf life. I'm assuming a big part of his focus in the shelf life is on the softness and texture, but also on preservatives in terms of retarding or stopping any mold growth. Because, of course, bread buns are relatively high in moisture, especially the soft ones, right? So he has listed a number of different ingredients and their usage levels, and is asking for help. So I have responded there and encourage anyone else with experience with these treatments, as we call it in the baking industry, to please contribute as well. It looks like this is a brioche type recipe with probably 10 or 12% sugar in it on a baker's percent basis. And so there's SSL, there's monodiglycerides for the emulsification properties and to keep it nice and soft. There is xanthan gum that Mahmoud is asking about. But there again, with xanthan traps water. So I'd always be careful with that, because you add a little bit of xanthan, you have to add a lot of water, right? And so in terms of understanding why you want to add that additional water, it sometimes does help with emulsification together with lecithin, but that's usually done as a substitute to remove monodiglycerides, right? The preservatives, calcium propionate, is, of course, that is going to prevent mold growth for a relatively long period of time. It depends a lot on environment, and making sure that things are not packed warm and so on. But a month on a hamburger bun is not unexpected. Of course, if you use something like So Fresh treated bags, you could easily get 2 months or more without any preservative at all. It's just important that there's no contamination during handling, and the treatment of the bag actually prevents the mold from growing, and it's quite wonderful. And it's just sofresh.com is the website. You can look up information there. And so that's all I have for you today, bakers, for Forum Friday. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you on the other side next week. Oh, before I forget, don't forget to tune in. We have a great gluten-free bread seminar coming up this Thursday on May the 6th. We will also be using that time to try and address questions that we didn't get to in the gluten-free pizza seminar. So I will be there. I've been asked to help contribute for that as well. And so we'll look forward to seeing you all to sign up for the gluten-free seminar. Just go to www.bakerpedia.com/academy and sign up for the seminars. They're all free. See you soon. Have a great weekend.